Agscape acknowledges that we were founded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Adirondack, the Mississauga, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are now a fully remote team with many representatives working across the land now called Ontario, and we acknowledge that there are 46 treaties and other agreements that cover the territory. We are thankful to be able to work and live in these territories. We are thankful to the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who have cared for these territories since time immemorial and who continue to contribute to the strength of Ontario and to all communities across the province. To continue to center reconciliation, we encourage our team, partners, students, and teachers to take time to learn about the lands they are currently on. Visit native-land.ca for more information.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a great week so far. I know we're getting to the end of this school year, so I'm excited to be able to go to a bison farm before school gets out. So today we're going to be able to learn all about how Jeremy takes care of the bison on his farm. So my name is Madison. I am the events assistant at Agscape, and here with me today is Jeremy, who is the owner of Black Powder Bison Co. So if you have any questions throughout the field trip, please send them in. We definitely want to hear from you, so just put them right in the comments. All right, Jeremy, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and we can get started?
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Excellent. Well, hello, everybody. It is truly an honor to be able to show everyone my bison farm. I heard there was close to 1,700 kids watching this, so that is absolutely amazing. I have never spoken to that many people at one time before, so I will do my absolute best, but I'm truly honored and happy to get to show you my farm. So as for a little introduction, like I said, my name's Jeremy. I live on this farm with my wife and my two daughters. I've lived on this farm my entire life, so a little over 30 years. This farm here was owned by my father before me and my grandfather before that. And it wasn't always a bison farm. That's something that I started about in 2017. So I'm not a very experienced bison farmer, but I'm definitely getting to learn about it every day and learn how to take care of these amazing animals. So as you can see behind me, these are my my cows and my calves, so the mothers and the babies. I have about maybe 8 or 9 mothers and about 5 or 6 babies that were born this spring. And then I have another field that I can show you a little later on with kind of the youth bison that are going on their own. So bison are a very unique animal. There isn't a whole lot of bison farms in Ontario compared to, let's say, cows or pigs or chickens or anything like that. But bison have been around in Canada a lot longer than what cattle have been. They are native to North America, and they do survive very well in the wild. And if you go out to Western Canada, you'll be able to see them in the wild. I have some friends that were in the Yukon, and they got real close to some wild bison. So they're an extremely hardy animal, meaning that they can handle all kinds of temperatures, and they don't need a shelter. So on my farm here, my bison live, as you can see, out in the grass fields where they belong. They don't go inside. I even have a little shelter for them if they wanted to go inside, and they don't. They would prefer to be out in the weather because they're built for it. They have an extremely thick coat. Actually, they have 8 times the hair follicles that a regular cow has, so that they can stay warm in the wintertime. A lot of the times when I look outside and it's snowing out, I look at the bison. The snow will hardly even melt when it touches their hides because they're so well insulated. So bison they're a unique animal. They look very slow and they look friendly and they look kind of like big, sleepy cows. But do not underestimate them. They can run extremely fast, they can jump extremely high, and they can be very, very aggressive, especially if they're protecting their babies or if they're think that there's a threat. So one day I was out looking out in my field, and a fox was crossing the field, and right away, two bison right away went and chased that fox right out of the field. And I seen them do that with foxes and a turkey, a big wild turkey as well. They didn't let them cross the field at all. So don't, if you're ever close to bison, just remember, they may look big and sleepy and slow, but they are definitely not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the camera view so that I can show you more of the bison. I'm going to try and feed them and get them up nice and close. And that way you're not looking at my my head all the time. Let me do a little switch here. I love questions about bison. If you have any questions, please ask, because that makes it a lot more fun for me if I can answer some questions. So let me get some apples here. Bison, they love these apples as a treat sometimes. See if I can convince them to come in nice and close.
Jeremy, we have a question if you want to answer it.
Perfect, I do.
All right, so the question is, what kind of personality does the average bison have? And do they each have their own personalities?
Yes, absolutely. Bison typically are fairly docile, but I have some bison that are very, very unique. For example, this one right here, she's the one directly in front of the camera. She's the oldest female on my farm, and she kind of runs the show for the ladies. She can be a little bit testy sometimes, especially when she has a young one. But this guy coming in right here, he is the bull. So he is the breeder male. He's the father of all these little calves, and he runs the show. So I think we're going to get to see him up nice and close. There we go. So this guy here, he is the most dangerous animal I have ever dealt with in my entire life. And I've dealt with many, many animals, but he is probably close to 1,700 pounds. You can see he's got these big horns on the top of his head. Those are for defense and for showing off to the ladies when it's in the mating season how strong he is. So he will challenge other bulls if there would be another bull. See if I can get nice and close to his head here so you can see him. He has a personality of just being the boss. Whatever he wants, he gets. He loves to eat food, and that's about it. So definitely bison have individual personalities, but for the most part, they are calm unless they are tested.
Wow, that's awesome. He is huge, and I guess you would never try to ride him.
No, this one here, definitely not. So he would not like that at all. I can sometimes touch his nose, but I don't think I'm going to try that today. I see another question here. What do bison eat in the wild? That's another great question. So in Western Canada, they would eat everything from any of the plains grasses that grow to he likes to take a run at me every now and then just to remind me that he is the boss. So in the wild, bison will eat just about anything, the vegetation. They can eat bark, they can eat tree roots. In the western, like in Nebraska and in places like that, they will eat any of the plains grasses that grow. They will pretty much, when there's snow on the ground, they can dig. I'm just going to get a different angle here. They can dig through the snow with their horns and get down to even the dead dry grasses that are underneath the snow, and they will eat that. So they're very self-sufficient. They can find vegetation just about anywhere, and they can digest quite a bit. On my farm, I have about 7 varieties of grass growing, and they kind of pick through the grasses that they like the most. They like the soft green grass, and there's definitely grasses that they just avoid. But if all the other grasses are used up, then they go to the whatever's left. So they're pretty they're able to find just about anything. I'm gonna try and get, these are my little babies here. They're a little timid. These little red ones. They were born this spring. Seems the bull here just wants to say hello all the time. So if you can see on this animal here, you see how on their back they have their back kind of goes up into a ridge, and that's different from, domestic cattle. And from what I have read, the reason for that is their muscles actually travel from their legs all the way up into the top of their back. That gives them extreme agility. They can spin extremely quick, and that's one of their defense mechanisms against when they're in the wild. If they're fighting off a pack of wolves, they can spin with their enormous heads very quickly and use their horns as their defense mechanism. So it's kind of a unique ability that bison have. They can run very fast, but if they are outrun, then they are definitely able to defend themselves by their different ways of. Oh, this guy's going to keep on following me. See if I can touch his nose here without. Here, buddy. Oh, yeah, no, he's not feeling it today. Are there any other questions at all that I can answer?
Yeah, definitely. Are bison omnivores?
Bison are herbivores. They eat strictly grass. To the best of my knowledge, anyways, that's what they primarily consume. I don't know if there's anything beyond vegetation that bison consume.
Awesome. Maybe we'll do a couple other questions and then we can show a video. So this one is, what is the difference between a bison and a buffalo?
That is a great question. That is probably one of the questions I get asked probably the most. So, bison are from North America and from, I believe there's a species in Europe. Many people call bison buffalo, and I know if you watch, old Western movies or Western movies, they are referred to as buffalo, and there's many farmers that still call bison buffalo, though the correct term is bison. Buffalo are from Africa and from Asia, so your African Cape buffalo and your Asian water buffalo, those are buffalo. These are bison. These here were, in Yellowstone National Park back in the 1800s. They estimate there was close to 60 million of these animals roaming the plains. And through many, many unfortunate circumstances, they were almost extinct down to close to the estimated numbers in the maybe a couple thousand from 60 million. So just a horrible things took place that diminished the number of these bison. And, now the population is slowly coming back. But yes, these here are bison. These animals are not buffalo. They are bison, though many people do call them buffalo. That's an excellent question.
How tall do bison grow?
Ooh, that's another good question. I don't know the exact measurement. So the tallest point on a bison is the ridge just above their front, straight up from their front legs, as you can see on my bull here. He is not a champion bull by any means. There are bulls that are probably 500 pounds heavier than what he would be. So they could grow up to close to 6 feet or taller at their highest point.
Awesome. Okay, maybe one more question and then I can show a video.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So how do you keep track of the bison?
That's another great question. So basically what I do is I don't have a large herd in the world of bison. I have a very small farm, so I can go out and look at my field and kind of keep track. I kind of know each of the animals has an ear tag, as you can see, with a number on it. See if I can, this one here has is number 384. So just kind of from my memory, and I guess some documentation, it's not very complex. I'm able to know who is who, the age of them. But if you have large bison farms, and then they would have electronic ear tags that are linked to a computer system that is a lot more efficient to keep track when you have a large herd. But for my small herd, it's pretty simple to keep track of them just from me kind of knowing the history of the animal and knowing where they come from.
Awesome. Thanks so much for answering those questions. I know you mentioned that in the winter they can go through the snow and find some food. So should I show the video of them going through some snow?
Yeah, absolutely. You can show those videos, and if there's any questions comes from those videos. So those videos were kind of all at different stages of the year on my farm here. And yeah, feel free to show them. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, awesome. So there were 4 videos of different behaviors of the bison. And now if you have any questions about them, please send them in. And we do have a question actually from Miss Danter. How fast can bison run?
That is another great question. So you can fact check me on this, but I believe the bison can run close to 50 kilometers an hour. They won't run that distance for a long period of time, but for short periods of time, let's say they're being chased by wolves or something like that, they can run extremely fast. And from my research, it's about 50 kilometers an hour, which is kind of amazing when you think of how big and slow these animals actually look. So just talking about some of those videos that I sent in there to explain what was going on. The first video was them running through the snow. So what they'll do, at least this is what I think they're doing, if it's a really cold day, I will suddenly look out in the field and I'll see the entire herd running together as a group, just going for, it looks like a team run, trying to warm up. So many times I'll be even sleeping at night and I'll have my window open a little bit and I can hear them breathing and kind of the stampeding through the snow. And I believe what they're doing is they're just warming up. A bison has an extremely large trachea, which is where gives them the ability to run in the winter. So the cold air, let's say you're in the Yukon and it's minus 35 degrees Celsius, cold air comes into your body and it makes it very difficult to breathe because you have this cold air in your lungs. But because a bison has such a large trachea, the air warms up as it goes into their body, allowing them to run for further distances in the snow, which is a pretty amazing feature of these animals as well. There was another video that was shown about, I think it was this big guy here that's going to keep running at me. He was scratching himself and it looked kind of like a green pole thing. So what I have is yeah, right there, that green thing, you can see there's kind of a green cylinder on top. I can fill that with citronella oil, and that there slowly gets put on the animals' backs and it keeps the flies away and it makes them smell really, really nice. So that's what he's doing there. He's scratching his coat. Bison lose their coats in the spring. You can see some of these animals are really shaggy. All that hair will come off and then they'll just be down to a very short hair for the summer. But in the winter, they grow this thick coat and they like to rub their hair off on something. So that's what that's for. And then it applies a little bit of fly repellent, a natural fly repellent for them, because flies can be very unhealthy for bison. There was another video of it was this big guy right here throwing the hay around. So when I feed them hay in the winter, if there isn't enough grass, this is the springtime when this video was taken, he will always eat first. He is the biggest, the laziest, and the strongest, but he gets to eat first. And what he likes to do is show his power by throwing hay into the air, which he's not doing it too aggressively here, but there are times where it's quite a show that he puts on just to show everybody that he's the boss and he gets to eat first. See, another question, when did you start this bison farm? So I started it in 2017. Basically, I was taking over my parents' farm, and I needed to find something to do that I could that I could farm with, a very small amount of land. I don't have a whole lot of acreage in the world of farming. So bison is kind of what I decided. And since 2017, we started with 6 animals, and now we are up to, I think we're up over 30. Oh, next, that's a great question too. I forgot to mention that. What is that block that the bison was licking? Is it for its health? Yes, it is. So that block there is a combination of salt, minerals, vitamins, all things that help with the bison to make sure that they're healthy. I have numerous of those little blocks put out over the farm, and the bison have free choice. They can use it and lick it as they need. They're able to self-regulate what minerals. If they're deficient in something, then they will go to that mineral block, and it just helps with their overall health. Next question: how long do bison live? They live a very long time. I don't know the exact length, but it would be over 20, 25 years, something like that. In the wild, the bison wouldn't live as long. They have harsher living conditions. They're dealing with wolves, they're dealing with inclement weather, and they're dealing with, they sometimes unfortunately cross water, over ice, and the ice isn't strong enough. So they can, under good circumstances, live well over 20 years. Next question: do wild bison live in the Arctic, in Alaska, in Canada? Yes, they do. I don't know for sure how far into the Arctic they are, but they are definitely in Alaska, in the Yukon, potentially the Northwest Territories. I'm not exactly sure how far their range is, but I know they are definitely in Alaska and in the Yukon as well. So bison, they're in North America. We have 2 species. There's a plains bison, and then there's a woods bison. So my animals are purebred plains, which I believe would have originated from like the plains of like Yellowstone, in that area. And then the woods bison are more your North American, further in the north in North America. They're a little bit bigger and shaggier than the plains bison are. Next question: do you care for the bison the same as horses? Do you brush them and wash them? Definitely not. So I have some horses on my farm as well, and they are cared for definitely different than bison. These animals, bison are, they don't like to be touched. They don't like it when I get too close. They brush themselves. I have some old tree stumps and trees and an apple orchard they can get into for scratching themselves. And as far as washing goes, on certain spots on my farm, they're like little dust bowls where the bison will kind of clean themselves in a dust bowl. That's how they get all the flies off of them. And it seems kind of funny that they clean themselves in the dirt, but that's what they do to get rid of any hair or anything like that they have stuck to them. But definitely not the same as horses. Horses love to be brushed and touched and cared for that way. Bison, not so much. Next question: how high can they jump? Very, very good question. They can jump high. This fence that I'm standing behind is just over, I think it's about 4.5 feet tall. They could jump this, no problem, and not touch the fence whatsoever. That being said, I have heard from other farmers that they have been able to jump up to close to 7 feet tall if they can get their front legs, anchored on the top of the fence. The reason that they don't jump over my fence if they want to is because my goal is to give them absolutely everything that they want within the fence. They never go hungry, thirsty, or are lacking anything that makes them want to jump over the fence. That being said, if they would get scared or spooked and would stampede, that could be a problem for them getting over the fence. But thankfully, I haven't had to deal with that yet. Next question. How do bison find their food in the winter? So with their big horns on their head and they have extremely powerful neck muscles, they can kind of push the snow side to side and get down using their hooves as well to get down to the grass that's on the ground. That's typically how they do it. On my farm here in the winter, I do feed them hay, which is basically grass that was cut in the summertime, dried out, and then baled up into hay bales, and then I feed that to them so that they have lots of food to get through the winter because it just is easier for them. They stay a little bit healthier if they don't have to work so hard to get their own food. Next question, do they fight each other? This big guy thinks he wants to fight me. Yes, they do. Sometimes they do. More so just to assert dominance, to show who the real boss is. These big bulls, if there would be another big bull in the field, there definitely would be a fight to determine who is the strongest. It doesn't. Sometimes they get along, but they definitely have their little scraps that they work out, and usually the stronger one always prevails.
Awesome. So it looks like we have a couple minutes left. So why don't we do just a couple more questions and then we can sign off.
Question, what would you do if a bison ran away? Oh, that's a very good question. Hopefully something that never happens. In the farming community that I live in, I have many neighbors and friends that are very capable at handling animals. So what I would do is I would call up just about everybody I could, and we would try and corral the animal into back into the field if possible. I've also in the past used a tranquilizer to give medical treatment to these animals with a veterinarian, which temporarily puts the animal to sleep, which would also be an option as well. But ideally, I could corral them back into the herd just using tractors and four-wheelers and things like that. They wouldn't want to be away from the entire herd. If one would get out and the rest of the herd is still in the field, that wouldn't go over very well. That single one that would be out would work pretty hard to get back with the group. Do your bison have names? Some of them do. My wife likes to name them after different people for different reasons. I don't name them myself very often, but a few of them definitely do have names. We have a lot of animals on the farm, from horses, chickens, about 15 cats, and a dog that all have names, so it'd be very difficult for me to keep track of all of the bison names as well. Question, do they like to play in water and swim? Yes, they do. If they have access to open water, they will go out into it, and bison are very good swimmers. There are some videos you can find on YouTube of bison, doing river crossings and stuff like that. They are strong swimmers. Just on my farm here, I don't have a pond or a lake or anything like that they have access to, but they do enjoy that.
I have a question for you, Jeremy, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just see the bison right now and they're swishing their tails around a lot. Is there a reason that they do this, or do they just do it all the time?
They do that to move the flies along. So that's one of the reasons that I need to stay on my fly control. The flies like to land on their back, and it's very annoying to the animals. So their tails are perfect at swishing the flies away, and that's what they're doing with their tails. They're just swatting flies.
All right, so let's just do maybe 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll have to sign off. What type of tasks do you think have to be done on the bison farm?
So there's all kinds of things that I have to do. It's not as hard of work as other types of farming. So let's say, like on a dairy farm, you have to milk your cows every day. On chicken and pig farms, you have to do more walkthroughs and things like that. So in the winter, my number one task would be making sure that there's enough hay. And so I get on my tractor and I bring out bales of hay out into the field for them. I'll make sure their mineral is replaced. Sometimes I need to sort them out. So all of the young ones at about between half a year and a year of age, they get separated from their mother. They get put in a field beside them to give their mother a bit of a break. So that is another task. There's just a lot of small things, property maintenance, making sure the fences are working properly, things like that. But it's not, it's definitely, bison farming isn't as hard a work, or there's not near as many tasks as a lot of other farming operations out there. That's for sure. What is my favorite thing about my job? Well, aside from getting charged by this bison here and having to stay on my toes every day, it's just working with these. It's working with these amazing animals. Quite often, I will just do what I'm doing right now, aside from not having a camera rolling, and just standing by my animals and getting to watch them and how they interact. It's definitely my favorite, is just getting to see them, getting to watch them grow. Yeah, they can be a little aggressive sometimes. Getting to watch them grow and their different personalities, it's definitely my favorite thing. Being a bison farmer, being really any farmer, actually, you get to interact with so many different people. I've met people from all over the world that have actually stopped in to see the animals, which is, it's amazing to get to show them. And even on a day like today, with close to 1,700 people getting to see my little farm, it's pretty awesome that I get to show this off and get to share it with everybody.
And this is a question I love to ask all the hosts that we have on our virtual field trips, just for any students that might be interested now in working on a bison farm. So what would I need to do to get a job like yours? Is there a specific program in college or university, or how did you get here?
Another great question. I didn't go to college for anything agriculture related, though that would have been an extreme benefit. I was very fortunate to have grown up on a farm and learned a lot of the agricultural information just from my father and from some of the other farms that I worked on. If I were to go through things again, I would probably definitely choose a path in education that is agriculture related, whether it be animal sciences or animal husbandry or anything like that, would be a major benefit, just to even understand the nutrition of what it takes to make these animals healthy and to make them thrive. But I myself didn't do that. I know there are many bison farmers out there who, continue their education well after they're, through college and things like that, with different programs that are available to learn more about bison. But it's nothing that I have done yet to this point here. But I definitely should and still could do that.
That's awesome. So pretty much you're saying is you could go to school for it, or you don't have to. There's many different pathways, as long as you're learning and educating yourself on how to properly take care of them. That's awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for. I don't know, Jeremy, if you want to flip your camera around just so you can wave goodbye to everyone.
Sure, absolutely.
But I just wanted to say thanks so much for showing us around your farm, teaching us all about bison. It's an animal that, we don't necessarily see when we're just driving along the road, or, that's typical on a farm. So it's really cool that we were able to see this today. Is there anything that you want to say before we head off?
Yeah, well, once again, I really wish I could see all of your faces and get to meet you in person. It's very exciting to have kids be interested in agriculture and see how food is raised and how we take care of our animals. I know the summer's coming up. If any of you kids are out with your parents and you're close to Elora and you want to stop in the bison farm and see these animals in person, we're open on just about every Saturday. You're more than welcome to come in and see them. A lot of the times you can even just park on the road and you can see them from there, see them in person. I love answering questions, and it was truly an honor to get to show my bison farm today. I'm very, very thankful.
Oh, Awesome. Well, we really, really appreciate it. And we hope everyone that watched learned a lot. We had so many questions. We weren't able to get to nearly enough of them. But stay curious, everyone. And thank you for participating. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and to enjoy the summer that's coming up. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.